Imagine standing at the precipice of your family's biggest night, only to be cast into the shadows. That was my reality, just last week, at what should have been a crowning moment for my father. Instead, it became a stage for my greatest humiliation, right before a crowd of 200 influential guests. My name is Sophia. I'm 34, a dedicated elementary school teacher, a profession my family, especially my stepmother, Victoria, seemed to view as a quiet failure. My father, Dr. Gregory Smith, was retiring after 30 years as headmaster of a highly regarded school. His retirement gala was a glittering affair at the Crystal Ballroom, a place where every centerpiece probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. My husband, Ethan, and I arrived a little late, caught in unexpected traffic. As we stepped into the opulent room, the air buzzed with self-importance, a symphony of polite chatter and clinking glasses. Ethan, usually so laid back, seemed preoccupied, constantly checking his phone. "Is everything all right?" I whispered, a thread of unease already beginning to weave through the excitement. He just gave my hand a reassuring squeeze, a soft smile on his lips. "Everything's fine, just some last-minute details to handle." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. My father, impeccably dressed, greeted us with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, while Victoria, in a shimmering gold gown, offered a practiced, fleeting grin. Her gaze swept over my navy dress, a 3-year-old favorite reserved for special occasions. I caught a glimpse of her disappointment, a barely concealed flicker before she smoothed her expression. "Layla has been here for ages, already mingling with the board," my father mentioned, a subtle barb about Victoria's daughter, the corporate attorney, Layla Langford, who always seemed to outshine me in their eyes. Victoria's voice, like chilled silk, cut in, "Let's get you settled, darling." As we navigated the crowded ballroom, I noticed a news crew near the stage, cameras poised. Clearly, a significant announcement was planned. My heart pounded with a mix of anticipation and dread. Why was Ethan still so engrossed in his phone? Why did Victoria's smiles linger too long, and my father avoid my gaze? I had a terrible premonition, a cold whisper in my mind that something was about to fracture. We arrived at the esteemed VIP table, where polished name cards shimmered under the chandeliers. I scanned them once, then twice, a cold knot tightening in my stomach. Mr. Gregory Smith, Victoria Langford Smith, Layla Langford, but no Sophia Smith. A wave of disbelief washed over me. "There must be some error," I murmured, trying to keep my voice steady, professional, like the calm I project in my classroom. Victoria materialized beside me, her smile sharp, almost predatory. "Oh, did Gregory inform you? We made a few minor adjustments. Limited seating, you understand." I looked at the table. 8 chairs, 7 name cards, 1 empty spot directly beside Layla, whose perfectly manicured hand rested casually on the chair arm as she chatted with Daniel Brennan, the chairman of the Smith Scholars Foundation. My place, the one I had been promised 3 years ago for the very foundation my father had created, was gone. "But I am his daughter," I whispered, the words catching in my throat. "Of course, dear," Victoria replied smoothly, her voice saccharine. "You'll be comfortable at table 12, right over there." She gestured to a table tucked away at the back, almost hidden behind a decorative column, next to my fellow district teachers. "Isn't that just perfect? You'll have so much in common to discuss." Beside me, Ethan's jaw visibly tightened. "This is her father's retirement celebration," he stated, his voice low but firm. Victoria, unperturbed, merely smiled and turned away, dismissing his concern. "Layla, sweetheart, tell Mr. Brennan about your newest case." Layla glanced up, a practiced smile gracing her lips. "Oh, Sophia, I didn't notice you." Her eyes quickly flicked down to my navy dress, lingering for a fraction of a second too long. "Are you enjoying yourself back there?" Victoria's voice carried effortlessly across the room, announcing Layla's promotion, the youngest senior associate at her prestigious law firm. Every word she uttered was a perfectly aimed dart, softened by politeness, meant to underscore my own perceived inadequacies. I remained fixed to the spot, staring at the empty chair, at my name conspicuously absent, a silent prophecy playing out before my eyes. My father approached, adjusting his tie as if nothing untoward had happened. "Dad," I pleaded softly, "why am I not seated with you?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Victoria felt it would be better for networking," he explained, avoiding my gaze. If Layla cultivates the right connections, it could greatly benefit the foundation. You comprehend, don't you? It's simply business. Simply business. My father had reduced my exclusion to a corporate transaction. Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm, yet unyielding. And precisely where is Sophia meant to sit? Table 12 will suffice, my father responded, still not meeting my eyes. There are numerous distinguished educators there. Distinguished educators, code for not important enough for the main stage. Layla's clear, effortless laughter echoed through the room as she leaned towards Daniel Brennan, discussing corporate grants and philanthropic funding. She occupied my intended seat, living out my moment, and everyone present appeared to find it entirely acceptable. Ethan's phone vibrated once more. He checked it, and a strange expression, was it satisfaction, flickered across his face. "Come on," I whispered, tugging at his hand. "Let's just move to table 12. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being demoted within my own family's structure. Table 12 wasn't merely a seat, it felt like an exile. As we crossed the ballroom, Victoria's voice, each word crafted for maximum impact, sliced through the classical music. "This is Layla, my accomplished daughter," she announced to a group of donors, a senior attorney at Henderson and Kamia Law Group. She recently secured a multi-million-dollar victory for the Peterson Foundation. A brief pause then, almost as an afterthought, and that's Sophia, Robert's daughter, heading towards the rear. She teaches elementary school at Lakeside Public. The way she pronounced public school made it sound like a grave affliction. Ethan's hand found mine beneath the polyester tablecloth of table 12, a world away from the silk and linen of the VIP section. Around us sat 5 other teachers, each in their finest attire, each wearing the same polite discomfort. We all understood the nature of our seating arrangement. "Third grade, correct?" inquired Mrs. Lopez, a middle school math teacher. "I heard you were recognized as Teacher of the Year last year." "I was," I replied quietly, forcing a smile. "But tonight, that feels like a distant memory." "How wonderful, Mrs. Lopez said kindly, yet we both heard the unspoken truth. Wonderful doesn't grant you a VIP seat. Across the ballroom, Layla's confident voice soared above the music. She discussed international tax law with someone from the mayor's office, each sentence polished and precise, as if she had been meticulously rehearsing her success for years. Every few minutes, Victoria would gesture towards her daughter, ensuring everyone within earshot knew, "That is my child, the truly successful one." My father moved from group to group. I counted 12 introductions, 15 minutes, all dedicated to Layla. He passed our table twice without stopping. Ethan's grip tightened on my hand. His phone illuminated again. A message flashed, "Confirmed, ready when you are." "What is that?" I whispered. "Just work," he replied, but there was an unreadable quality in his tone. "Are you okay?" I asked softly. "I'm fine." He wasn't lying, but he wasn't entirely calm either. His brown eyes met mine, steady and warm, and for a fleeting moment, I felt grounded, even in this uncomfortable setting. Then another burst of laughter echoed from the VIP table, bright, polished, perfectly timed. The sound of individuals who would never comprehend the feeling of invisibility. From across the room, Victoria's voice carried, discussing Layla's Harvard law degree. "She has achieved so much," she declared proudly. "It demands true ambition to reach those levels. Not everyone possesses that kind of drive. Certainly not teachers who spend their days guiding 8-year-olds in basic reading." Her words drifted through the ballroom like a fragrant poison. Mrs. Lopez leaned closer, whispering, "Family dynamics can be quite intricate." I nodded, my gaze fixed across the room. My father was smiling at Layla as she showed him something on her phone, likely her latest press feature. Meanwhile, in my desk drawer at Lakeside Elementary, rested 28 handmade thank you cards from my students. Yet those cards didn't open doors, they didn't make headlines, they didn't secure a place at the VIP table. Ethan was rapidly typing on his phone, his brow furrowed. "Hey," I murmured. "Whatever you're doing, please don't. It's not worth it." He gently kissed my temple. "You are always worth it," he said quietly. Then the lights dimmed. My father ascended the stage, tapping the microphone with the same commanding presence I had admired since childhood. 200 faces turned towards him. A photographer positioned himself for the perfect shot. "Thank you all for joining us tonight. my father began, his voice steady, practiced, the voice of the headmaster I had once yearned to make proud. As I conclude this chapter of my career, he continued, I am profoundly grateful. He commenced with the customary acknowledgments, the school board, fellow principals, major sponsors. Then came the personal segment. My heart quickened. I have been blessed with a wonderful family, he declared, gesturing towards the VIP table. My beautiful wife, Victoria, who has been my steadfast support for the past 4 years. And tonight, I am especially proud to have Layla Langford here, Victoria's daughter, whom I have come to cherish as my own. The words struck me like a blast of icy water. Layla was recently promoted to senior associate at Henderson and Kamia Law Group, the youngest in the firm's history. Harvard Law, summa cum laude. She embodies everything education should aspire to produce: ambition, excellence, and the relentless drive to reach the summit. Thunderous applause erupted. Layla rose, waving gracefully, her designer gown shimmering under the lights as the photographer ceaselessly captured the moment. Again and again I waited. Surely now he would say something about family being paramount, but he moved on directly to thanking the catering staff. That was it. His other daughter, the one who had followed in his vocational footsteps, who had dedicated her life to the craft of teaching, didn't even warrant a mention. 30 years in education, and he couldn't celebrate the daughter who chose to be a teacher. Beside me, Mrs. Lopez gently touched my arm. Don't let it trouble you, she murmured. It was quite predictable. I know, I replied, my voice steady, perhaps too steady, but inside, a torrent of memories surged forth. My father had missed my college graduation because Victoria had arranged a weekend retreat. He had forgotten my birthday for 2 consecutive years. Every Christmas dinner, every family gathering, somehow, Layla's latest achievement always commandeered the spotlight. My Teacher of the Year award, a recognition of profound personal dedication, was never even acknowledged. You know, Ethan said abruptly, his voice thoughtful, almost heavy, I just recalled something. What? I asked. The first time you told your dad about winning that award, you were so thrilled, you called him immediately. I froze. He said he'd call you back, didn't he? The silence between us provided the answer. Heavy, sharp, undeniable. No, he never called back. On stage, my father recounted a humorous anecdote about his first day as headmaster. The audience roared with laughter. He was charismatic, authoritative, everything a leader should be, everything a father should be, save for one who could embrace a daughter who prioritized passion over prestige. Then Ethan's phone vibrated once more. He read the message, and for the first time that evening, he smiled. What is it? I whispered. Just remembering, he said softly, why I married a teacher and why that will forever outweigh anything anyone in this room could ever recognize. If you've ever felt like an afterthought in your own family, or if your accomplishments were constantly deemed insufficient, make sure to hit subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been compelled to confront those who didn't appreciate you? I read every single comment, and please remember, you are not alone in these struggles. Now, let me tell you how things spiraled further, because my father's subsequent declaration utterly transformed my understanding of my position within this family. He returned to the microphone, his expression morphing into one I had witnessed before, the same look he wore the night he announced his marriage to Victoria. It is time for the most significant announcement of the evening, he proclaimed, his voice commanding instant silence. As many of you are aware, the Smith Scholars Foundation has secured a generous $6 million commitment from Educor Tech Corporation. A wave of approving murmurs rippled through the crowd. $6 million was a substantial sum, even to this sophisticated audience. This foundation will persist in funding scholarships and resources for emerging leaders in education, he continued. Then his tone brightened, proud and deliberate. Tonight, I am honored to announce who will succeed me on the foundation's board upon my retirement. I held my breath. This was it, the role he had pledged to me 3 years prior when the foundation was first established. When I retire, Sophia, you will uphold the family legacy, he had once stated. Your classroom experience will be invaluable. But now, after what he termed careful consideration, he said, his voice echoing through the ballroom, I am thrilled to announce that Layla Langford will be joining the board as my successor. The words descended heavily, and the world around me seemed to halt. The room erupted in applause. Layla rose gracefully, smoothing the red gown that shimmered under the lights, waving as if she had just accepted an Academy Award. Victoria beamed, dabbing the corner of her eyes with a precision that could win accolades of its own. I sat frozen, unable to process what I had just heard. 3 years of preparation, 2 years of research into teacher grant programs, dozens of proposals I had meticulously crafted to fund innovative classrooms, all eradicated. Layla offers a distinctive perspective, my father continued. Her legal expertise and corporate connections will enable the foundation to expand beyond our wildest imagination. Legal expertise for a foundation intended to support teachers. Ethan's hand clamped around mine, tight enough to cause a faint ache. That was meant for you, he whispered. I know, I replied softly, but it wasn't merely about losing the title. This foundation would govern the distribution of scholarships to hundreds of teachers across the state. Teachers like me. Teachers Layla had likely never engaged with beyond tonight's photo opportunities. She couldn't distinguish between Common Core and state standards. She had never spent a single day within a classroom. And furthermore, my father added proudly, Layla will collaborate closely with our primary sponsor, Educor Tech Corporation, to ensure their vision perfectly aligns with ours. Their vision, not the vision of educators, not the needs of teachers, but the vision of a corporation. Beside me, Mrs. Lopez gasped. But you're an actual teacher, she whispered. You comprehend what we genuinely require. I did. And that was precisely why I hadn't been selected. Suddenly, Ethan rose. Excuse me for a moment, he said. Where are you going? I asked quietly. To make a call. His voice carried an intensity I had never heard before. This fundamentally alters everything. He was already on the phone before reaching the hallway, his expression sharp, focused, deliberate. From my seat, I watched Layla accept congratulations at the VIP table. My legacy transmuted into her stepping stone. The full weight of it struck me as Daniel Brennan, chairman of the foundation's board, rose to speak. He began outlining the responsibilities of the new position. Board members would oversee more than $500,000 annually in teacher scholarships and development grants. They will determine funding priorities, he stated. They will select recipients and shape the trajectory of educational support throughout the state. $500,000 each year for teachers who needed it most. Teachers like me. And now that power resided in the hands of someone who had never experienced a single morning in a classroom. I thought of Ms. Rodriguez at my school, who worked weekend shifts at Target simply to purchase classroom supplies, and of James, the second-grade teacher who launched a GoFundMe campaign to secure special education resources, and of my own $200 monthly stipend. Money I consistently spent on books, crayons, and science kits. This position could have transformed all of that. At the VIP table, Layla was saying something to a donor, her voice carrying across the room. I've already drafted a proposal, she declared. It focuses on leadership development and administrative advancement. Administrative advancement, not classroom resources, not teacher retention, not the elements that genuinely mattered to the children we educated daily. Then my phone vibrated, a message from Ethan. Trust me, something significant is about to unfold. I scanned the room, but he was nowhere in sight. Where had he gone? Before I could formulate another thought, Victoria's voice cut through my contemplation, perfectly pitched, perfectly public. Layla has already identified several exciting partnership opportunities with our corporate sponsors, she announced proudly. Real innovation, Layla added from across the room, not the same old classroom fundraising initiatives. Classroom fundraising initiatives. Was that truly how she perceived our efforts? 2 years, I whispered to Mrs. Lopez. I dedicated 2 years to researching teacher burnout, developing retention strategies, constructing mentorship programs. She nodded gently. We know, Sophia. Everyone here recognizes your contributions to this community. A pause, but knowing didn't matter. Not in this room. Not where success was quantified by billable hours and corporate connections. On stage, my father returned to the microphone. Jessica will bring a fresh perspective to educational funding, he stated confidently. Sometimes it requires an outsider to perceive what insiders might overlook. An outsider. After 30 years in education, he genuinely believed an outsider could better serve teachers than someone who had lived the experience. My phone lit up again. Another message from Ethan. Observe Daniel Brennan, this is crucial. I glanced towards the VIP table. Daniel was intently studying his phone. Daniel Brennan's expression shifted from polite interest to sharp focus. He scanned the room, searching for someone. Before we proceed, Daniel said abruptly, rising from his seat, I would like to clarify something regarding our corporate sponsor. The room fell silent. This is not part of the scheduled program, he added. Victoria appeared perplexed. Layla's practiced smile faltered ever so slightly. And somewhere within the crowd, I knew Ethan was orchestrating something I had yet to comprehend. I could no longer remain seated. Not while 200 people witnessed my erasure in real time. My legs moved before my mind could stop them, carrying me towards the VIP table with a newfound resolve. Dad, I said, my voice steady. We need to speak. The table went still. 7 faces turned towards me, including Layla's, her polite smile tightening at the edges. Not now, Sophia, my father said in the same authoritative tone he once used on disobedient students. But I didn't falter. No, it cannot wait, I stated calmly. You are causing a scene, Victoria's voice interjected, cold and wrapped in silk. Am I asked, still composed. Because I believed we were here tonight to celebrate education. My voice remained level, professional, the same tone I employed with challenging parents at school. That position was promised to me 3 years ago, I said quietly. Circumstances change, my father replied, still refusing to meet my gaze. What circumstances? I pressed. My teaching award, my master's degree, a decade of classroom experience. Layla laughed softly, the sound sharp, brittle, like splintering glass. Oh, Sophia, she said, a multi-million-dollar foundation demands more than good intentions. You're correct, I said. It demands an understanding of what teachers truly need. That's precisely why we required someone with real-world experience, Victoria smoothly interjected. Real-world experience. The words escaped my mouth before I could censor them, sharper than intended. I educate 28 8-year-olds every single day. I purchase supplies with my own earnings. I labor 60 hours a week to earn $40,000 annually. How much more real-world can it possibly get? A murmur spread. People at nearby tables turned to observe. Someone even raised their phone, recording. This is embarrassing, my father hissed under his breath. You must leave now. Embarrassing? I retorted, stepping back. What's embarrassing is appointing someone to an education board who has never set foot in a classroom. Security. Victoria called out sharply, raising a manicured hand. 2 uniformed guards began moving towards us. A photographer's flash ignited again and again, and in that moment I realized this was it. The public spectacle that would define me, the unruly daughter who sabotaged her father's retirement gala. Fine, I said, my voice steady. I'll depart. But I turned to face the crowd. Before I do, everyone here should know that Dr. Gregory Smith has just prioritized connections over compassion, networking over genuine knowledge. His legacy is not education, it is opportunism. Get out! Dad shouted, his face flushed, the last shred of composure finally shattering. You are no longer welcome here. Those words inflicted a deeper wound than any physical blow could. No longer welcome at my own father's retirement. As the security guards approached, a calm voice cut through the tension. That won't be necessary. Ethan appeared beside me, steady and composed, his presence piercing the noise like a lighthouse beacon through a dense fog. He turned to the guards, his tone firm, controlled. We will leave voluntarily. Then, to my father, but before we go, Dr. Smith, just one question. My father glared at him. What? Do you know who your primary sponsor truly is? He scoffed. Of course, the CEO of Educor Tech Corporation, some tech executive. What about him? Ethan's smile was quiet, measured, but impossible to disregard. That would be me. The words hung in the air, heavy, deliberate. Every conversation in the ballroom ceased. Even the music seemed to fade. Shall we, Sophia? He asked softly. There was something in his tone, something that compelled 200 people to hold their breath. The security guards stepped aside as we walked towards the exit, the crowd parting like waves. I could hear the whispers. Is that his daughter? Someone raised their phone. Another began recording. The flashes pursued us like fireworks, not of celebration, but of revelation. "You're humiliating yourselves," Victoria shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. This is what occurs when individuals cannot accept their limitations. I stopped, turned back. The room fell silent. "My limitations?" I repeated. Layla rose from her seat, her courtroom confidence dripping from every word. "Some individuals are destined for greatness," she said smoothly. "Others are meant for simpler endeavors. There's no shame in being ordinary, Sophia." Ordinary, the word lingered in the air like a judgment. "Teaching is a noble profession," Victoria said sweetly, her tone steeped in false sympathy. "But honestly, anyone can teach elementary school. It requires true talent to excel in law or business." Anyone can teach. I thought of Caleb, the boy with dyslexia who finally discovered a love for reading. Of Sarah, who overcame selective mutism in my classroom. Of the 17-hour days, the differentiated lesson plans, the psychology courses, the boundless patience it takes to shape a child's mind. "You're correct," I said softly. "Anyone can stand in front of a classroom. Not everyone can teach. There's a crucial distinction." My father stood abruptly, his face flushed with fury. "Security, escort her out immediately." But before the guards could move, Daniel Brennan rose from his seat. "Perhaps," he said evenly, "we should all remain exactly where we are." "Daniel, this is a family matter," my father snapped. "Family matter. Public humiliation now a family affair." The security guard stepped closer. One reached for my elbow. "Ma'am, we require you to step outside. Do not touch my wife." Ethan's voice sliced through the air. The guard instantly retreated. "Or what?" my father challenged, his tone sharp. "You'll both depart. Please do us all a favor. The only announcement of consequence tonight," he added coldly, "is Layla S." Ethan pulled out his phone, typing something swiftly. "You're absolutely right, Dr. Smith," he said evenly. "Layla's announcement is indeed significant. In fact, it is about to become significant to quite a few people." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "What is that supposed to imply?" "You'll soon discover," Ethan said, slipping his phone into his pocket. "Daniel, you might wish to check your email." Daniel Brennan frowned, pulling out his phone. Seconds later, his eyes widened. What is this?" My father's voice rose. "What is happening?" "It has already commenced," Ethan said calmly. "Nothing occurs tonight that isn't already in motion." He turned to me. "Come on, Sophia, we don't have to remain to witness its unraveling." We began towards the ballroom doors, the crowd whispering, flashing phones raised like spotlights. Then I heard Daniel. "The company's history is actually quite fascinating," Ethan continued, his tone calm, conversational, too calm. "It was founded 5 years ago by a man who witnessed his mother struggle as a public school teacher. She expended her own funds on supplies, worked weekends without compensation, and never received the recognition she deserved." A ripple of unease moved through the ballroom. Even the servers halted their movements. "That founder made a solemn promise to himself," Ethan went on, "that if he ever acquired the means, he would support teachers in the proper manner, not with empty rhetoric or public relations campaigns, but with tangible resources." He turned, meeting Dr. Gregory Smith's eyes. "That founder believed teachers like Sophia, the ones who remain after hours to tutor struggling children, who dedicate their summers to crafting innovative lessons, who perceive potential where others see only problems, deserve more than a relegated seat at the back of the room." My father's voice cracked for the first time that night. "What are you insinuating?" "I am implying," Ethan said evenly, "that EduCore's funding comes with certain conditions, something we term values alignment. We are very particular about who manages our grants." Daniel Brennan was typing rapidly now, his face tightening with concern. "Ethan," I whispered as everything suddenly converged. The late-night calls, the education journals, how he always seemed to know precisely what my classroom required. "The contract terms," Ethan said evenly, "are exceptionally clear about the caliber of leadership EduCore expects. Peculiar that you never scrutinized them closely, Dr. Smith." My father's face drained of all color. "You can't." Ethan smiled softly, an intriguing assumption. Daniel stepped forward. "Gregory, we must converse now." "What contract?" Victoria demanded. Ethan read calmly from his phone. Section 7.3, administrators must prioritize teachers with genuine classroom experience. Section 7.4, board seats should reflect educational diversity, favoring active educators. Shall I proceed? Ethan asked. Layla offered a nervous laugh. This is preposterous. You cannot be serious. I am not implying anything, Ethan said softly. I am simply reciting a legally binding document, one Dr. Gregory Smith executed 6 weeks ago. My father snatched Daniel's copy of the contract, flipping through it frantically as the color abandoned his face. Furthermore, Ethan continued, Educor Tech reserves the unequivocal right to withdraw funding if these conditions are not met, and clearly they are not. You orchestrated this, Victoria hissed. No, Ethan replied evenly. We invested $6 million with exceptionally clear terms. You perceived the money and presumed the details were inconsequential. That's when I noticed it. The Educor logo projected onto the screen behind the stage. A stylized apple adorned with a graduation cap. The very same one that glowed on Ethan's laptop all those late nights. How had I possibly overlooked it? This is a trap, Layla shouted, rising to her feet. Not a trap, Ethan said calmly. It is called contract law. I trust your legal expertise, Ethan said smoothly. Then you will appreciate Section 12. 1. Any public announcement of board appointments without sponsor approval constitutes a material breach of contract. A wave of murmurs rippled through the ballroom. Phones were raised, recording the unprecedented reversal. Daniel Brennan cleared his throat. Dr. Smith, as board chairman, did you review this contract with counsel before signing it? Victoria interjected. Layla reviewed it. Every eye turned to Layla, who suddenly appeared less like a senior partner and more like a startled deer caught in headlights. I skimmed it, she stammered. It appeared standard. Skimmed. Daniel's tone could have frozen glass. A $6 million contract, and you skimmed it. Ethan stepped back from the microphone, his voice calm. Mr. Brennan, I believe you will need to make some leadership decisions for the foundation. We await your response. He turned towards me as the room erupted. Daniel Brennan was already initiating an emergency board meeting. Victoria screamed at Layla. My father stood frozen, staring at the contract as if he could magically will it to vanish. And behind it all, the Educor Tech logo glowed brighter. A silent, powerful reminder of who truly held the leverage. Are you still captivated by my story? If you find this narrative compelling, please like this video to support our efforts. And if you are eager to discover Ethan's next revelation, trust me, you will not want to miss it. Have you ever experienced someone championing you when you felt utterly incapable of defending yourself? That pivotal moment when love unequivocally proves you were never invisible. Share your thoughts in the comments. I diligently read every single one. Now, everything was poised to change. The truth had finally emerged. Victoria's composure shattered. She snatched the microphone, her voice sharp with unbridled panic. This is sheer manipulation. She screamed. This man, she pointed accusatorily at Ethan, deceived everyone. He has been concealing his true identity. And Sophia, she must have masterminded this entire charade. Masterminded what? I managed to ask. To humiliate us, to transform your father's retirement into a grotesque spectacle? She hissed. You have always been an embarrassment. A school teacher earning $40,000 annually, driving a 10-year-old Honda to Target. Her words reverberated through the ballroom, each one landing like a stinging slap. But for the first time, I did not flinch. You comprehend what it's like, Sophia, Victoria sneered, her voice sharp enough to slice glass. Jessica and I constantly have to explain you at the country club events. The entire room froze. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Forks paused midair. Whispers spread like an electric current. Someone near the back murmured, she actually vocalized that. Victoria turned sharply to Ethan. And what about you, pretending to be some insignificant nobody when you are, what precisely? Ethan's tone remained calm, steady. A man proud of his wife. A man who believes shaping young minds matters infinitely more than finalizing corporate deals. Layla snatched the microphone from her mother, her hands visibly trembling. This changes nothing, she declared, her voice unnaturally high. I possess the qualifications, I possess the connections. I stepped closer, my voice clear and unwavering. You possess no classroom experience. Name one educational theory, one teaching strategy, one effective method for students with learning disabilities. Silence. Dozens of faces turned towards her, some wide-eyed, others shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The soft hum of camera phones filled the air. "That's what I presumed," I said quietly. "Experience is irrelevant when you possess talent," Layla snapped, her facade cracking. "Some of us are destined for leadership. Others are merely teachers." The word hung in the air like smoke. Just teachers. At nearby tables, several educators lowered their eyes, a few shaking their heads, others whispering under their breath. The humiliation was no longer exclusively mine. It was theirs. Finally, Dr. Gregory Smith rose, his voice strained. "Sophia has consistently lacked ambition. I endeavored to steer her towards law school, business, something respectable, but she chose this." Gasps again, sharper this time. 10 years of dedication, compassion, and purpose reduced to a single, crushing word: disappointment. "You know what?" I said, my voice echoing through the silent ballroom. "Yes, I did choose this. I chose to awaken every morning and effect a positive change. To be the individual children turn to when the world feels overwhelmingly heavy. I chose meaning over monetary gain." "How utterly noble," Victoria scoffed, her laugh as sharp as broken glass. "And how convenient that your husband's wealth permits you to play teacher without the burden of worrying about bills." The accusation hung in the air like a potent poison. Around us, 200 guests watched, my family fragmenting, and phones raised to capture every utterance. "My wife," Ethan said softly, "has never accepted a single dollar from EduCore Tech. She is not even fully aware of the extent of my work." He paused, his calm composure returning like a steady tide. "But perhaps it is time everyone here acknowledges who truly deserves respect in this room." Then he turned slowly, deliberately, and walked towards the stage with resolute purpose. This time, no one attempted to impede him. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan began, standing at the podium with a quiet confidence I had only ever witnessed in our most private moments, when he spoke about transforming education, about making a difference that genuinely mattered. The ballroom fell silent. "My name is Ethan Smith," he stated, his voice steady. "Yes, I adopted my wife's surname when we married. She is unaware of this, but I did it to honor the sole Smith who genuinely comprehends the profound meaning of education." I froze. He had never disclosed the reason to me. "5 years ago," Ethan continued, "I observed my wife returning home in tears after having spent her entire paycheck on textbooks for her students. That same night, she remained awake until 3 in the morning, meticulously crafting personalized lesson plans for every single child in her class." His voice carried through the hall, clear and resonant, every word deliberate. "That was the evening I resolved to construct something that would authentically support teachers like her." He paused, scanning the crowd. Every face, every camera, every breathless second suspended in the air. "Every lawyer, every leader, every success story in this room," Ethan said, "began with one individual. A teacher. Someone who discerned potential in us, who stayed after class to assist our understanding, who believed in us when we lacked belief in ourselves." Daniel Brennan nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. "But somewhere along the path," Ethan continued softly, "we overlooked them, didn't we? We attained success, and suddenly those teachers became an embarrassment. Not sufficiently glamorous for our galas, not worthy of our VIP tables. This is grandstanding," Victoria protested weakly. "No," Ethan said, steady but firm, "this is truth." He gazed out across the silent room. "Sophia Smith has impacted more lives in a single year of teaching than most of us will in our entire careers. Her students still correspond with her years later. Their parents credit her for altering their children's futures. And yet tonight, she was deemed inadequate for her own family's table." He reached for his phone and projected something onto the massive screen behind him. The image filled the screen. A classroom adorned with children's artwork, handwritten thank you letters, certificates proudly affixed to painted walls. "This," Ethan said, his voice ringing through the hall, "is what success truly resembles. This is what genuinely matters." His tone grew stronger. "And if Dr. Gregory Smith cannot perceive that, if he prioritizes networking over intrinsic knowledge, status over genuine purpose, then he does not merit what EduCore Tech provides. You cannot withdraw funding for personal motives. Layla blurted, her legal instincts immediately asserting themselves. Ethan smiled, calm and precise. I am not withdrawing for personal motives. I am withdrawing due to misaligned values. Section 3(2) of the contract clearly states, the sponsor reserves the right to redirect funds if the recipient fails to demonstrate a commitment to supporting classroom educators. Redirect? Daniel Brennan asked sharply. Redirect where? Ethan looked directly at me. For the first time that night, his professional composure yielded, revealing only profound pride, unwavering love, and resolute conviction. To someone who genuinely deserves it, he said quietly. Then he turned back to the microphone. Allow me to formally reintroduce myself, he said, his voice steady, commanding. My name is Ethan Cole Smith, founder and CEO of Educore Tech Corporation. The ballroom erupted. Gasps, cheers, chairs scraping the floor as people rose to gain a clearer view. The revelation struck like thunder. Cameras flashed like lightning, capturing the precise moment my father's carefully constructed empire crumbled. This cannot be happening, Victoria stammered, her knuckles white against the edge of the table. You are a nobody. You drive a Honda Civic. You shop at Costco. So do I, Ethan replied calmly. Because I prefer to invest in classrooms rather than superficial status symbols. I understand that this might be a radical concept. My father sank into his chair, his face ashen. You deceived us all these years. I never lied, Ethan said quietly. You simply never inquired. You assumed that a quiet man who married a school teacher could not possibly be successful. Your own prejudices blinded you. Layla's phone rang. She answered automatically, then froze. I comprehend. Yes, sir. She hung up, her face pale. That was partner Richardson, she whispered. Foster and Associates wishes to discuss reputational risk. What? Victoria screamed. Tonight's live stream has reached 50,000 views. Someone near the back called out. It's trending. Daniel Brennan stepped forward. Dr. Smith, Mr. Cole, as chairman, I must understand your intentions for the foundation. Ethan's gaze never left my father. Educore Tech Corporation, he said clearly, is hereby withdrawing all funding from the Smith Education Foundation, effective immediately. The words landed like a seismic shock. The empire collapsed in absolute silence. My father roared, his voice shaking the air. We possess a contract. Yes, Ethan replied evenly. When you breached the moment you announced Layla's appointment without sponsor approval, your attorney should have been aware of that. He turned to her, his expression unreadable. Oh, wait, she was your attorney. A ripple of gasps swept through the crowd, the irony cutting deeper than any insult could. Your own negligence, Ethan said calmly, just triggered my exit clause. He straightened, his voice growing stronger. Furthermore, I am establishing the Sophia Smith Excellence in Teaching Foundation, $5 million, managed by real educators for real educators. From the back of the room, the teachers at Table 12 began to clap, hesitantly at first, then louder. Table 11 joined in, then another and another. Within seconds, half the ballroom was on its feet, every teacher, every quiet professional who finally witnessed justice unfold before them. Daniel Brennan stepped forward, his voice firm yet respectful. Mr. Cole, I would be honored to serve as chairman of your new foundation. We require someone with your integrity. He looked between Ethan and my father, his decision unambiguous. I accept. This is theft, Victoria screamed. We will sue you. Please do, Ethan replied calmly. I'm certain the publicity will be advantageous for all involved. A principal's wife calling teachers an embarrassment, it will resonate wonderfully in the headlines. My father rose slowly, his dignity crumbling, his legacy shattered in mere minutes. Sophia, he whispered, you have ruined everything. But I no longer looked at him. My eyes were fixed on Ethan, the man who had just revealed himself as my fiercest protector, my quietest champion. I never imagined that one day my name would grace the pinnacle of a national education fund. But what moved me most was not the grand scale or the financial figures, but the gazes of the teachers who once had to economize their salaries to buy chalk, now standing tall like unsung heroes. After that night, events unfolded with breathtaking speed. The news spread like wildfire. The video of Victoria Langford labeling teachers a disgrace garnered over 3 million views in just 48 hours. The press dubbed it, "The Night Education Fought Back." A hashtag began to trend across platforms, "Teachers Deserve Respect." People shared their stories. The teacher who faced termination for daring to challenge an unjust system, the single mother who worked double shifts merely to purchase instructional materials for her child's class, the teacher who exhausted all her savings to send her students to national exams. For once, they were not ridiculed, they were celebrated. 3 days later, the school board announced that Dr. Gregory Smith would retire early, effective immediately. The term "voluntary" in the announcement only provoked bitter laughter from the public. Online, he was branded the principal who lost $6 million to arrogance. My father, the man who had taught me the meaning of respect, was now a living antithesis of it. Victoria Langford vanished from town, relocating with Layla Langford to Connecticut. The lawyer daughter who walked in high heels and proclaimed, "Some are born to lead, others are born to teach," now operates an Instagram account named Balance by Layla, purportedly dedicated to re-energizing after a career crisis. Not a single mention of Harvard Law, not a single word about Henderson and Kamiya Law Group, just forced smiles and platitudinous quotes. I don't revel in their misfortune. I only feel a profound sadness, for perhaps if they had grasped the true essence of kindness, they would not have suffered such a catastrophic loss. Meanwhile, the Sophia Smith Empowerment and Education Foundation expanded more rapidly than anyone could have foreseen. In its inaugural week, over 50 businesses submitted sponsorship inquiries, not for fame, but because they desired their names to be associated with respect. We had to employ additional staff solely to process the applications. 3 months later, the foundation had awarded 127 scholarships, provided supplies for 89 classrooms, and funded mental health care for more than 200 teachers. Every thank you letter, every photograph of a freshly painted classroom, every joyful laugh from a child captured in a video sent back, it brought me to tears. But I still taught, still arrived at school at 7 in the morning, graded papers, wiped the whiteboard clean, guided students in forming each letter. A reporter once inquired, "Sophia, why do you continue teaching when you manage a multi-million-dollar foundation?" I laughed. Because this fund was established to serve teachers. How could I truly comprehend them if I were not one myself? Ethan and I had not substantially altered our lives. We still resided in the same 2-bedroom apartment, still drove the same Honda Civic, still enjoyed spaghetti and inexpensive wine every Sunday. The sole transformation was the luminosity in our eyes, the light of 2 individuals who knew they were aligned with what was right. One morning, I discovered 2 faint lines on the pregnancy test. Ethan smiled, gently touching my belly. "A teacher's child," he said. "We will teach him that different does not equate to inferior." I nodded. Every child possesses the capacity to change the world. Teachers merely help them recognize it. 6 months after the gala, my father called. His voice was frail, heavy with weariness. "Sophia, we need to speak." "We are speaking," I replied. "No, in person. I need to offer an apology." I remained silent. Was he seeking forgiveness, or merely attempting to salvage his tarnished reputation? The silence stretched so long that I could hear the rhythmic ticking of a clock. "I was mistaken," he finally conceded. "I was too severe. I should not have granted that seat to Layla Langford. I should not have excluded you from the VIP table." I closed my eyes. "Thank you for acknowledging that. But what I require is not merely an apology, but genuine change. You have lost everything, Sophia. Your reputation, your marriage, your career." "I did not cause that, Dad," I said softly. "I simply ceased shielding you from your own consequences. I am your daughter." "I know, and that still holds significance, at least to me. But was I ever truly your daughter when you forgot my birthday? When you failed to appear for my teaching honors? When you introduced Layla Langford as the greatest pride of my life?" He was silent. Then he whispered wearily, "What do you desire from me?" "All I require are boundaries. 6 months of family therapy, a public apology, and a sincere effort to comprehend why your actions were wrong. Not merely because of the repercussions, but because of the inherent harm they caused." "That's preposterous." "Yes, you still have the option not to do it, just as you always have." I hung up. Not angry, not gloating, just relieved, because in the end, I chose tranquility over external approval. A year later, at table 12 in the very same ballroom where it all began, we hosted our inaugural fundraiser. Daniel Brennan, 5 veteran teachers, 2 parents, and myself. No lawyers who hadn't taught, no CEOs who hadn't volunteered in a classroom, only individuals who understood that teaching is not lesser work. It is the bedrock of everything. Ms. Chen, who had sat in the back that day, smiled. From the classroom to the boardroom, that is the authentic journey. I never heard from my father again. He did not fulfill any of the stipulated conditions. Victoria Langford dispatched several lengthy emails regarding public misunderstanding, all of which promptly landed in my spam folder.